All right, peace and blessings, and welcome to another episode of the Author Spotlight Self-Publishing 30 Days podcast. I am your host, Rob YB Youngblood, President of Sales for Self-Publishing 30 Days, the number one self-publishing company in the world. And I'm excited to be with Jerome Myers today. I was just telling Jerome, man, listen, I'm not treating him like a stranger because he and we have history. I remember both of us, we were in the Richmond area at the time. I was working with a nonprofit organization that focused on supporting high school age students and getting connected to careers. And I don't know how it was, Jerome. Maybe you could tell us part of the story, but Jerome was selected as the leader of this engineering explorer post that was tied to the Heart of Virginia Council, Boy Scouts of America. That was at the time when Jerome was connected to Dominion, and I'm sure he'll touch on that a little bit. He is a corporate America dropout, so I'm sure he'll tell you what that means in a moment as well. But Jerome is the real deal. He's a coach. He's an advocate for just achieving the right mindset, and he's an author. So, Jerome, welcome to the Author Spotlight, my brother. How you doing today?
Amazing. Just honored to share some space with you, man. It's been a long time since we've had more than a hi and bye in LinkedIn, kind of hanging out in the hallways, playing hooky from school. So this is awesome, man. But to be able to see you grow over the past, man, believe it or not, it's been like 14 or 15, maybe.
Oh
Yeah, it's
man,
probably like 15
about
years,
15
man.
years, man. Yep,
Just
absolutely.
it's just amazing to see people and where their life path takes them. So grateful to be with you today. Really excited to share something. Hopefully, we can inspire some folks to
Oh
get
yeah,
more than what
absolutely,
they've been
man.
doing.
Absolutely, man. So we'll get into your book and everything like that in a moment, man. But let's start out with a little bit of your backstory. Where are you from originally? And tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, man. So I grew up in Fayetteville, North Carolina, the son to a soldier and a stay-at-home mom. And I did well in athletics and academics. I was fortunate enough to go to North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University and study engineering and play football for 4 years while I was there. Following that, I went to Virginia and started my engineering career. Matriculated through a couple of companies, one really big, and then a small consulting firm, and then a really large consulting firm where I had global responsibilities. And then my last role in corporate America, I was employee number two in the division, and we went from 2 to 175 in about 9 months.
Mm,
And then at the end of the year, we had about $20 million in revenue and 30% profit margins.
mm.
And I was privileged to get a phone call at 4:55 on December 24th that went something like this: "Hey Jerome, I know you and I have been going back and forth on this, but we're going to have to lay them off." And I started to advocate for the folks that were on my team. And after a few back and forths, I was told that, "Hey, it's Christmas Eve. I'm going to spend the rest of the year with my family. You need to figure this out, and I'll talk to you in the new year." And
Mm.
then the three boops that you hear, if you have an iPhone, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And looking at that phone and realizing that my life had changed forever, because now I was the axe man and I was doing something that I didn't believe I should be doing,
Mm-hmm.
but I was doing it because of the position that I was in. I had a title and I had P&L responsibilities, and
Mm-hmm.
so I I decided that I would get through that and I would never do it again. And then the following year, I was asked to do the same thing, and so I became a corporate America dropout.
Mm.
Started this entrepreneurial journey. Started with real estate, and then pivoted and really leaned into what my true talents are, which is helping people. I call them apex performers achieve a life of their wildest dreams.
Yeah, I love that, man. Your story is very similar to so many others who have found their way into entrepreneurship, right? So, some people grow up in a family full of entrepreneurs and they catch the bug and they keep it moving. Others they are laid off, right? And then they kind of have a gut check. And then others they still work a 9 to 5 and decide to manage building their enterprise from 5 to 9, right? So they've got the 9 to 5, and then they'll manage their enterprise from 5 to 9 or 5 to 10 or 5 to 12, depending on how hard they want to go. Um, let's talk a little bit about that experience where you got that call, and you had to make this decision. Was it at that moment you knew that you wanted to make this transition into entrepreneurship, or had you already had your finger and your feet and your toes in the game or in the life of an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's funny. I incorporated my company in March of 2006,
Hmm.
but I didn't make any real progress with it. It was just there. I was paying my dues every year. I was submitting the necessary documentation to keep it active.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until the fall of 2016 that I actually realized that it was a real thing and it was going to happen. So I
Hmm.
was interested in entrepreneurship, but I wasn't active
Hmm.
from any meaningful way. And so what I realized, Rob, and it's I consider this actually to be a traumatic experience in my life. What I realized was that I had the illusion of control, right?
Hmm.
It was, I'll talk to you every other week, Jerome. I'll see you once a quarter. You
Hmm.
got it, run the business. And so I was under the opinion that the call was mine. But when it came down to it, the call wasn't mine. And I
Right.
was doing things that weren't in alignment with my morals and values. And so it put me in a space where I had to actually be honest with myself. It was a gut check,
Hmm.
right? And I realized I had a choice, right? I had a choice, even though I didn't think I had one. The people who I was employed by told me I needed to do this thing. And so obediently, I did the thing.
Right.
But I could have said no, right? I
Right.
could have opted out. And I think so many of us forget that we have a choice, right? We
Hmm.
don't dig in and really take full agency over the situation that we are in,
Yeah.
and that puts us in a space where we've compromised ourselves,
Yeah.
and things begin to spiral from there. I know as for a fact that at least one of the people that I laid off committed suicide, right? And this was a progression. He wasn't able to get a new role, so his family, particularly his wife, decided that they didn't need to be together anymore, took the kids. Eventually, he lost the house to foreclosure, and then the vehicle was next. And the question was, well, what am I living for? I don't have anything, right? And did I pull the trigger? No, right? But was I involved in the train? Yeah.
Hmm.
And could we have done something for him had I known? Would I've absolutely. But
Hmm.
you know, I got to live with that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't do it in that moment. I didn't feel like I did it of my own accord, right?
Right.
Somebody else dictated that to me,
Right.
and so that's my message, right? I choose, not you. You get to choose. I get to choose.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not what I call the matrix puts on you as the framework of you don't really have a choice. You
Yeah.
have a choice in every situation.
Right. Yeah. No, that is definitely wow. That's heavy, because I could see I could see both sides.
For sure.
I could see both sides, man. Like as I hear you talking, I reflect on my experience of August 15th, 2012 being the last day of me working for this nonprofit here in Richmond. And, they gave us the benefit of giving us a letter a month prior saying that, hey, in 30 days, you'll no longer be employed with us, right? Some people don't get that luxury, right? And so at that time, I was building an Amway business and I thought I was big stuff, bro. I was like, yeah, I got my own business, man. I'm gonna be good. I wasn't good. You feel me? So when I got to that point, August 15th, as I was walking out of the building for the last day with tears streaming down my face, thinking about my wife and my children and how will I provide, those thoughts hit me too, like I even, we can go deep into this down the line, man, but I had my own situation of attempted suicide down the line because my life was spinning out of control. So I could see both sides because one, it's traumatic because of how working in corporate has been promoted to us, right? As you loyal, you give your all, and then when they let you go, you feel like you take it personal because you're like, I thought I was valuable. and in actuality you are valuable, is just a business decision, right? It's a business decision. It's not, and it might have been personal, but it's a business decision when it's like, hey, we need to save the company, so we're gonna cut the expenses, and a lot of
Yeah.
people don't realize that. Talk a little bit about how your experiences. Well, start at your book. What's the name of your book, and
Yeah.
what prompted you to write your book?
Yeah, the latest book is Your Dreams Should Be Real. And that one is prompted by this belief that everybody knows deep down in their soul, right? Right in their core, in the
Mm-hmm,
pit of their stomach, that they have dreams and they live in an environment where they may have been told, hey, be practical, be
mm-hmm,
reasonable.
mm-hmm,
You know, that's not likely to happen. You probably shouldn't do that.
mm-hmm,
And I'm here to tell them that that's the fastest way to mediocre,
mm-hmm.
right? If you want to live an extraordinary life, you have to have extraordinary expectations,
Right.
and it's going to require an ordered amount of discipline
Mm-hmm.
and effort. And if you're willing to do those things, then there's no need for you to be practical or reasonable
Right.
because you can create the life of your dreams.
Mm.
And the more times that I get to share this thesis with people, the more I see them perk up a little bit. They sit a little bit taller
Right.
and they begin to pull that thing out that they put on the shelf. And so to bring this thing full circle, I was on the stoop with my buddy Duran in college,
Mm-hmm.
and we were doing math. I was paying 395. I had two roommates paying 395. Down below, he was in an apartment doing the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when we did the math across the complex, the owner was making $700,000 a year top line,
Mm-hmm.
and we never saw him or talked to him.
Mm-mm.
Like, whoa,
Mm-mm.
we don't need 700, we need 70.
Yeah.
We'll be good, right?
Yeah.
College students, we thought that was real money. And the fact of the matter was, I put that thing on the shelf and I pursued the corporate dream like you were just alluding to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to be, the big house, the car, and I had all of it, man. I had a 6,000 square foot house. I had an exotic car. I had, two kids and married my college sweetheart. I did all the things. And at the end of it all, I felt empty. Right?
Right.
It was like, well, what are you doing? You're not truly walking in your purpose. And
Right.
so, when I say that, I went down a real estate path. So when I left corporate, I
Mm-hmm.
did the real estate thing, but the true gift that I have is my ability to inspire people, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
at DreamCatchers, that's my title, Chief Inspiration Officer.
Love
I
it.
have the ability to inspire people to do more than what they've been doing, to stop settling for the things that they've been told that they can have,
Yeah.
and encourage them to go do that thing that they were actually placed on this planet for.
Yeah.
And so, I could talk forever, right? But the book just lays out the path that I took to get to the place where I'm bold enough to look you in the eye and with no hesitation, with no remorse, tell you that your dreams should be real
Love it. I
and
love that.
give you those principles so that you can use them to begin to manifest that thing that's in you that you pretended you don't feel.
Let's man, that's so amazing, because in this world where there's so much fakeness, right? There's so much, like, there's a facade. Like, even when we think about social media, it's like, you hear people say, yo, your dreams can be like, they give you this pitch, right? But on this end, you're giving them practical, real principles. Talk a little bit about what separates the manuscript you put out into the marketplace from all of these other people who, every 2 minutes you on social, they giving you the game, right? But then they're like, okay, but if you want more of the game, click here, right? So what separates your work from maybe those who may have a similar message, but it's not as genuine and heartfelt as your story? I mean, what's the separator?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that I'm not promising them anything, right? I'm going straight to your pain, right? You talked about suicidal ideation, and I
Mm-hmm.
think every high achiever experiences it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
The pressure to succeed can be crushing,
Mm-hmm.
right? But most people won't ever speak on it. But the courage that you have, my brother, to mention that
Mm-hmm.
in a situation where you could have just said, oh, yeah, that guy had a bad situation,
Mm-hmm.
shows that you're in tune with who you really are and you accept your experience
Mm-hmm.
as something that can help move other people along on their journey.
Right.
Right. So that's the first thing. I'm not promising you that if you read my book that your life's going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
But what I am promising you is that once you read my book, you can't unread it. And you will
Mm.
know that there are dimensions that are available to you that you may not be exploring.
Yeah.
Right. This is
Yeah.
the red pill, blue pill moment for
Yeah.
people. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
once you take that red pill and you actually ingest it,
Mm-hmm.
you are now in a space where you can wake up and pretend like this never happened and live in
Right.
ignorant bliss.
Right.
Or you can follow the rabbit hole all the way to the place where you are rooted on hard rock
Mm-hmm.
and you're able to build this empire,
Mm-hmm.
not for your personal benefit, but for the benefit of the world, to serve the world
Right.
with the gifts that you've been given.
Right.
And if you are willing to do that, the rewards that will be poured upon you are greater than anything you could ever imagine because that's why
My.
you were here,
That's right.
right?
That's your
And
purpose.
so many of us play this game of, I'm just going to do this thing. I'm going to hoard myself out to the highest payer,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And instead of going down. And I mean, I was in that situation where I had the golden handcuffs. That's a more PC way of saying
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
I got the golden handcuffs. I can't go backwards, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going to do with this house payment, or what I'm going to do with this car, or what about the vacation or the private school, or pick your thing, right? The
Yeah.
bag,
Yeah.
whatever, the shoes, whatever your thing is, right? If you got to give that up in order to actually do purpose filled work,
Mm-hmm.
mission driven work,
Mm-hmm.
then you failed. And it's an illusion because if you can actually do that work, package it properly, market it well,
Mm-hmm.
the way that you monetize against that is going to far exceed anything that you'll ever get by selling your time to
Yeah.
somebody else
Yeah.
at a fraction of its value because you
Mm-hmm.
know it's a fraction of the value, because why would they pay you
Right.
to be a net loss in their
Right.
business? It
Right.
just doesn't make
Doesn't make
sense.
sense. Yep. Absolutely. Man, you listen, for those of you who are listening, watching, you're listening to Jerome Myers, phenomenal insight that he's sharing, man. And one of the things that I love about what you said, and one of the reasons why I respected you so much when we first met, man, was the fact that you did come out of an HBCU, right? So, I'm out of Virginia Union, you out of A&T, and even though I didn't graduate from North Carolina A&T, I always have the desire to just be on my Aggie pride. You feel me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got to call that out, man, because it's so global, man. So talk a little bit about your experience in becoming an author. So obviously you said this book, right? So which gives us the impression that you have a few others. So talk a little bit about your experience of becoming an author, because many of the people who are listening, many people are watching, are aspiring authors, or they've already put maybe one book out there and maybe it didn't hit the way it was supposed to. So now they want to give up on their dream. So talk a little bit about your experience in becoming an author. What was your author journey like when you first got started?
It's funny, man. The first book that I wrote, it took me about 2.5 years with a 6 month break because I shared it with somebody who I really respected.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually two people. The first person said, "You're not qualified to write a book on that topic."
Oh,
And I was writing the book. It's called Politics of Marriage. And I was writing the book because I was trying to figure out how to be a better husband.
right.
Because the feedback I was getting from my partner was that I was awful at the job, right? I was
Wow.
getting my
Wow.
performance appraisal and I was getting
Yeah.
needs improvements
Yeah.
across the board.
Across the
And
board.
I
Yeah.
thought I was doing the thing.
Yeah.
I was making the money. I was
Yeah.
doing the laundry. I was doing all the stuff. At least I
Yeah.
thought I was. But when it came report card time, I was failing. And so
Failing.
I
Yeah.
went and I read all the books and I was like, man, I had to read 8 different books
Uh-huh.
in order to get the lessons. And now I'm implementing and it's kind of better, but I'm still not getting the grades I want to get. I
Right.
said, so if I learn this stuff, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But they say it's better if you teach it.
That's
So
right. That's right.
this book called The Politics of Marriage, this work was channeled through me. I still remember you talking about 5 to 9. I think a lot of people were saying 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. I was doing this from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m., right? I'm on the keyboard, I'm pounding the keyboard, and
Yeah.
this thing's just coming through, eyes closed. And
Yeah.
then I share it, and it's like, yeah, you're not qualified to write that. Because I was like, all right, let's do it together.
Mm.
You're not qualified to write that. Okay, I'm gonna do it myself. Boom, boom, boom.
Right.
And
Right.
then I go forward and I share it with somebody else, and it's like, yeah, this isn't interesting. Like, who cares? I was like,
Ooh.
oh, totally different person,
Right.
but same feedback of, you're not supposed to be on this journey. You don't even write that well. You went to
Ooh.
engineering school, not writing school, so your
Ooh.
grammar sucks. And I'm like,
Mm.
okay, all right. So I put it down, and then I had somebody else come into my life, and it was like, well, I'll embark on this journey with you and
Yeah.
help. I'll read it. I'll give you feedback. I'll give you thoughts. And they were my seniors, so we worked on it together, and it kept me going. It kept me engaged. It kept me interested.
Yeah.
Then I finally got to the place where I was ready for it to be presented to the world. And I'll tell you, man, I self published it. I ordered boxes. I put them
Uh-huh.
in the trunk, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm just like, I got a mixtape, man. I'm selling
Yeah.
books out the
Out of the
trunk,
trunk,
and
masterpiece style, right?
I get some reviews, and then it's like good review, 5 star, 5 star, 5 star, and then I get the one, and I'm like, what happened? And the person was pretty scathing about how poorly it was written and all the stuff, and I was like,
Right.
I mean, it
Right.
was one of the most well articulated reviews that I've ever seen. It was
Right.
beautifully
Written.
scathing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, man,
Yeah.
well, maybe they should be writing books, or maybe they do write books. I don't know.
Right.
But I was just grateful that I got the reviews that I did. And, my hope was always that I could just help one person,
Right.
right? Just one. I just wanted to help one
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so the feedback that I got from that worked. And I reference it when people are going through things, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I'm most proud about is a checklist that things you should do if somebody passes away,
Mm.
right? And in a time of need, when somebody is scattered, emotional,
Mm-hmm.
they can go through the book and they can check the boxes to make sure that everything is in order, because there
Mm.
really isn't a thing that you're supposed to, like, where do you go to
Yeah.
know, hey,
Yeah.
I need to shut down the Facebook account or whatever the other
Yeah.
stuff is, right?
Yeah.
So I wrote that book, and I was like, okay, maybe I can do some group sessions, maybe we can do some weekend retreats, but I
Right.
never really built the business off of that.
Okay.
And this is the thing, I think the authors of the aspiring authors, like, the goal isn't to be chicken soup for the soul,
Right.
right? The book establishes you as an authority, somebody who has cohesive thought
Mm-hmm.
around a subject matter.
Yeah.
And then you can use that to consult, coach, do some other things that will allow you to actually generate real revenue.
Yeah.
Because I personally don't believe there's a ton of money in the actual book itself, but
Mm-hmm.
on the follow on work. And so, you know, I did that first book, and then I came back to, Your Dreams Should Be Real. And we've got
Mm-hmm.
a third one that we think's pretty close to being ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, like, I wrote about the things that the problems that I've been passionate about solving.
Yeah.
And I think, regardless of what anybody thinks about your capacity to write, the right editor can fix all of those issues. You just have to
Mm-hmm.
get your your thoughts onto paper so that it can be shaped into a cohesive piece of
One
art.
1000%, man. As we land the plane, man, I cannot agree with you more, man. Like that's the crux of my message, being in the role that I'm in, to encourage more people to be authors, because you hit the nail on the head. You mentioned how, your book is meant to help solve a particular problem, right? Obviously, you'll be an authority of a specific area, and and here's the thing: if it happened to you and you was able to overcome, that's your story. You know what I'm saying? And other people can relate, or maybe they can't, but it doesn't mean that it's not real, right? And then you mentioned how, your role as the author is to get that idea information on paper, and then give the editor the opportunity to help craft it, and then let the publisher do what they need to do with it to make sure that it's official and that you have your ISBN or social security, your book social security number and everything like that on the book, man, and make it look great. As we wrap up, Jerome, you dropped some serious heat, and I'm godly proud of you for being able to tap in. Say, for example, if there are individuals that are listening and watching this episode and they want to get connected to you, they want to tap into your movement, or they just want to get a copy of your book, what's the best way for those individuals to align themselves with your call, your calling, and your cause?
Yeah, the best place to get more information is jeromemyers.co. You can find everything from my real estate endeavors to books, merchandise, like everything is there. And it's comprehensive, man, for sure.
Love it, man. My last question for you is a little bit of a curveball, but I think you can handle it. You're very intelligent brother, so I think you'll be able to handle it. Say, for example, your next book that you're working on a third book, but let's say you have another book that comes out and you can go anywhere in the world to write the book, and I'm paying for it, right? My team and I, we gonna cut the check to send you anywhere in the world to write this book, Jerome. Where would you go if I was paying for it? Where would you go to write this next book?
Man, it's not going to be really inspiring for most people, but just give me a cabin in the Smoky Mountains, man. We're good.
Man, no, that actually will appeal to a few of our listeners. We've actually had some folks that have said the same thing. I had one brother say, "Just drop me off in Africa." I said, "You know, Africa's a continent, right?" He said, "Yeah, anywhere in the continent, I'll be Gucci." Gucci means I'll be good. For those of you, may not understand what I'm talking about, Gucci, right? So they'll be good. And then one person was like, "They'll just drop me off in the Republic of the Congo." You know what I'm saying? So no, I think that's perfect, man, and that fits. Jerome, one more time, give us the name of your book, and then let us know how they can find you, and then we're gonna wrap up this episode.
Yeah, man. Your dreams should be real is the name of the book, and you can get it everywhere, Amazon, or you can jump on the website and get it as well, jeromemyers.co.
Excellent. Listen, for those of you who've been rocking with us, you already know we focus on bringing real, raw, and relentless guests that will empower, inspire, and impact you and help you on your journey as authors, whether you're just getting started or maybe you've done 10 or 12 books like our chief book officer, Darren Palmer. Either way, we want to encourage you to be encouraged, be blessed, but most of all, be faithful because your gift will make room for you and will allow you to make an impact on many others. We'll see you on the next episode of the Author Spotlight. Thanks a lot, Jerome. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.